guys? This is Keith Kelfus with the Untrained podcast. Today we have Austin Douglas from Ditch The Itch, poison ivy remediation specialist, and he's also a certified arborist. I've met him maybe 5-6 years ago. If you've got a lawn and landscaping business and you've ever had poison ivy on your client's properties, you don't know what to do or how to identify it. Maybe you've touched it and you've broken out in a rash, or one of your employees or something, and you don't know how to identify it. Well, this guy's an expert at it. He can identify it. He can get rid of it. And he actually has packages where he exclusively offers these packages to his customers, and he's crushing it. He's built a 6-figure business specifically with poison ivy. And I know you're expanding into other things now, but if you stay tuned on the show, you're going to learn some really amazing stuff that you can actually implement into your own lawn and landscaping business to be more knowledgeable, be more of an expert to your customers eventually, and even make more money maybe. He also has a special offer for you. It's at landscaperresource.com is my website. If you go there, scroll down and look for Ditch The Itch, you'll see a big poison ivy leaf with like a no smoking sign over it. That's where you can get access to what he'll be talking about and sharing, because you're launching this whole new education program, and I'm really excited. What's up, Austin?
What's up, Keith? I appreciate the intro, man. Thank you for having me on the podcast, and I look forward to sharing some knowledge and see where we go in this conversation.
Yeah, bro. You're a super smart guy, man. And you became a certified arborist. You've grown your business. You're just crossing every T and dotting every I, and you're getting a lot of clients, and you're crushing it. Tell us a little bit about your story, how you got started and how you got into this.
Yeah. So, where do we begin? We could go all the way back to like my first memory as a child. My first memory as a child was being in a hole playing in mud that my grandma dug to plant a rose of Sharon. It's still there. It's still alive. This was 30 years ago or something like that. But that's where my start was, right? My family was into the outdoors. They were into gardening, into planting. My mom took me to take a kid to work day at a greenhouse that she worked at local. And then my first actual job was working in a greenhouse, and I was in charge of just watering, moving plants around from point A to point B, helping customers load their cars. And then I started to work at a major nursery, and I was in charge of the potting crew that potted all the trees and shrubs for the entire facility. We're talking 30, 40,000 shrubs, probably 10, 20,000 trees every year. Did that for 7 years. On top of doing that, I worked for the only poison ivy remediation company in Michigan. And then through some circumstances and looking into things, there wasn't really a path for growth for me. And so what I decided to do was go out on my own, and I'm entering into year 4 in my own business. So that's exciting, man.
I love it. So what does the conversation look like when customers call you looking for service?
That's a good question. So most people just can't even believe that there's somebody that does this. First and foremost, right? They think they have to call a landscaper, and then they call probably 10 landscapers and say, no, we don't do that, right? I'm sure that's common, right? I doubt you deal with poison ivy, or you probably refer it to me. You're like, nah, call this guy. We don't want to touch it, right?
Oh, I'm touching that shit, bro. I see you send me pictures of jungle poison ivy going up the sides, like devouring buildings, and then you go and get rid of all of it. Anyways, what does the conversation look like?
So it's just a matter of they contact us and we kind of ask them, what's the situation? What's going on? What's happening? They tell us their brief synopsis of what they think is happening. And we kind of go with this approach where, first of all, we have to come out there and inspect the property. We do charge an inspection fee where we can't go out there for free. Our time's too valuable and our client's time's too valuable. We don't want to waste their time, right? So we go out there, we charge them an inspection. Upon inspection, we go through all of their garden beds, their wooded lots, their perimeter edges, and we basically point out what they have, and we educate them on what it looks like, so that way they can spot this in the future if a new plant comes in through a bird bringing in a seed or what have you. Then if we agree to a price, which we have a base price as a bare minimum to treat it, we then move forward to treatment. We come back in a couple of weeks, do an additional treatment if it's necessary. And then in some situations, we recommend to actually physically remove the poison ivy plants from the property. I mainly leave that for garden beds or areas where they intend to work in, just because even though we kill the plant, it's still active with oil until it's fully dry. And so if they have a landscaping company that's about to come in and do some work, well, to save the landscaping company, we need to remove that. It's an additional fee. But otherwise, the landscaping company could be hospitalized. They could have a serious rash, like you said, doctor's visits. I mean, a lot of bad stuff can happen. And so it's situational based on what they need.
So you back it all up with education, terminology, knowing, passion. How many different types of poison ivy or poisonous plants are there that can make you itch?
Whoa. Off the top of my head, there's poison ivy, poison sumac, poison oak. There's another kind of poison ivy. There's like Atlantic poison ivy, and then there's Western poison ivy. Fun fact, mangoes, the skin of a mango contains the same oil that's in poison ivy. So if you pick up a mango at the grocery store and you decide to chomp into it without peeling it, you'll probably get some redness or some blisters on your mouth. Cashews, same thing. They're all in the same family, which is Araceae family, I believe. Archidaceae. I don't know. It's Latin. It's difficult to say, right? Forgive me. There's quite a few. And then there's even plants that are poisonous that aren't in the same family. Like you have giant hogweed. There's another one that's like wild cow's parsnip or something like that. There's a yellow flower. I'm blanking on the name right now. But there's quite a few plants can cause reactions. There's quite a few trees that can too. Over in Japan, they have a tree that's very similar to poison sumac, which is what we have here in Michigan. And they used to use that back in the day. They would extract the oil out of it, which is the same oil that would cause a rash, and they would use it to seal up boats and waterproof them like a lacquer. I wouldn't want that job, but people did it. So there's quite a few plants out there. And then there's a lot of plants that look like poison ivy, but they're not. They have 3 leaflets. If you're uneducated or untrained, you look at them and you're like, oh, 3 leaflets, right? There's a saying that we've all been accustomed to, which is leaves of 3, let it be. But there's so many plants with 3 leaves out there that you can't follow that, right? Otherwise, you'll think every plant with 3 leaves is this thing that's just going to destroy you, make you itch, give you oozing blisters, and nobody wants that. And then if you're irresponsible with an herbicide, you go out there and you see everything with 3 leaves. Well, now you're killing everything and you don't need to. So we don't want that, right? That's just being irresponsible.
How do you what's the process of going in? Obviously, you can't go into too deep. I don't know how much detail you can go into, but what's the process of remediation?
Okay, so inspection, first and foremost. And then we do an herbicide application with a systemic selective herbicide. Basically, that is a product that we apply to the leaves. It's absorbed through the leaves. It's carried down into the root system, and it triggers auxins, which is a chemical hormone inside the plant. And it basically triggers the plant to grow so fast that it cannot sustain itself with its food. And so it basically starves itself. And then once the plant's dead, like I said, that's when it gets a little bit situational. We can either tell the client, okay, we need to remove this based on XYZ situations that you just told us, or we can let it be, let it decay, let it return to the earth, let it become nutrients for the next tree that's growing up there, and just let it be, right? And so it's really situational at that point. But the chemical treatment aspect, that's pretty much the same in all of these. The only exception is we don't do foliar applications to vines. So if there's a vine that's growing up a tree or a building or a utility pole, what we do in that situation is we sever the vine, we take out a chunk about yay big, maybe 3-4 inches, and then we poison the stump of the trunk with a concentrated herbicide. That gets absorbed down into the roots, kills it to the root, and then what's above will dry out and be harmless after a few years of drying.
What percentage of the jobs do you actually remove the poison ivy?
That's a good question. I would say situationally, we might only recommend it to 20% of the property owners that we deal with, 20% of our clients. It's situational. Do you have time, right? Because time is this dimension. Do you have time to wait for that poison ivy over there in your garden bed to become harmless? If you have time, then you can save some money. But if you have to expedite time, then we need to do this process. And so a lot of people say, you know what, just leave it. And then we won't do that part of the landscaping this year. We'll let it go for a year or two, right? Some people, those pictures I showed you where they're climbing up these buildings, they want that stuff gone now, right? Because it's literally taking over and engulfing their house or engulfing their building. They're like, no, that's got to go because we need to paint this. We got to do this. It's got to go. So it all depends on their situation, what they need done. Yeah, removals are not my favorite part, but it's necessary. My favorite part of my job is actually educating the client. I love doing that.
You walk around with the client. It starts on the phone. Well, actually, it starts before that on your website and your Google reviews, positioning yourself. Oh. You invest more time in spraying herbicide than you do actually removing it?
Yes.
So you're making good money and you're not climbing up and down trees and hauling around wheelbarrows of concrete?
No. We try not to. I did do some invasive tree remediation not last year, the year before. We were getting rid of buckthorn trees and we would sever the stumps, poison the stumps in the same fashion that we would do poison ivy vines. And then we would haul the material off site and take it to a landfill or take it to basically be compost. But I quickly learned that that was not what I wanted to do, was to cut and get rid of brush. To me, there was way too much labor involved, way too much risk involved. And I just said, no, we're going to do other things. So I'm transitioning now in that aspect of my business of what we're going to do into plant healthcare services.
What is that? What's plant healthcare?
So plant healthcare is basically the concept that trees and shrubs have issues, whether they be insect, disease, nutrient deficiencies. They have issues due to the environment around them and due to abiotic and biotic factors. Abiotic is basically man-made. We intervened and caused an issue. Biotic is living. So we're talking insects, fungus, things of that nature. And plant healthcare is basically altering the environment so that way we can make this tree or shrub healthy again. You basically have to read the tree, read the environment, see what's going on, and then make adjustments from there. And then through a process of time, you will hopefully make a tree or shrub healthier without having to introduce chemicals through insecticides, fungicides, things like that.
More of the Untrapped podcast right after this. Looking to maximize your production in the field? Ballard Products has over 300 products that can help you get the most out of your efforts every day. Ballard Products. Whether you are looking to get a better cut, keep your gear on your machine, keep your expensive equipment clean and safe, or just get the most out of your machines, Ballard has you covered. Ballard Products. Jump onto our easy-to-use updated website at ballard-inc.com to get your gear ordered today. Keep grinding. Stay safe. And have a great season. Ballard. Make sure to use the code Keith10 to save 10% on our full line of gear. That's Keith10. This is Untrapped with Keith Kalfas.
So I learned that because you had Daniel Miraval on your YouTube channel years ago. And that video and seeing Daniel and learning what he was doing as an arborist inspired me to become an arborist. Because I always thought in my mind that an arborist just climbed trees and pruned trees and removed trees. It opened up this door in my mind that just said, there's more. You don't have to do that, because I didn't want to do that. And so I went down this rabbit hole and started learning all these things. And since then, I've befriended Daniel. We talked. I told you we had a 3-hour conversation the other day. He helped me as far as he got me an air spade. So we're going to start doing air spade work, which is what he kind of specializes in over in Chicago. And I'm super excited to do that. My technician who works for me, he actually was my former boss, Bordines, which was where I worked, the large nursery here in Michigan. He really likes plant health care. He was the grower there. So he taught me a lot as far as how to take care of plants, insects, and diseases. And so now he's like, yeah, let's do some plant healthcare stuff, right? Let's stop getting rid of this buckthorn over here. Let's actually save some trees.
Wow. It's so amazing. Anyways, I was just thinking about the power of the internet and YouTube and how you saw the videos. And as you were talking, I was thinking about the videos that I did with Daniel Miraval, where we drove out to Chicago and I brought Quentin, which is an amazing filmmaker, cinematographer, friend of mine.
It's a huge, giant circle.
Yeah.
Right? It's amazing. Had I not seen that, Keith, would I have become a certified arborist? I don't know. I really don't know. Had I not seen a video of you talking about how to make a landscape business for XYZ amount of money, go get business cards, go get this, would I have started my own business? Because I watched that video and immediately I went to Vistaprint and I made business cards. They weren't professional. They didn't look good, but they were business cards. I was like, I'm in business. Let's do this.
So amazing.
It's powerful.
It's amazing, bro.
The reach that you had is powerful.
I was doing the math, and it's somewhere around 10,000 businesses my videos have helped start in some way. It's insane. So it's just YouTube. It's like there's people that upload garbage on the internet. You could use it for positive. You could use it for whatever you want. And it's like I just had this huge passion for helping people start businesses because I know what it was like to be stuck in a dead-end job. I want to remind everybody again listening, thank you guys so much for listening. We're on here with Austin Douglas. His business is Ditch The Itch. You can find him on Instagram. We're still going to talk more, obviously. But if you go to landscaperresource.com, just spelled out just like I said it, look for Ditch The Itch, and he's pre-launching your – talk about this program instead of me because I want everybody to know.
So this is super exciting, right? You talked about how, we're going to enter in the education realm. And that's like the first part of what we do when we communicate with a client, right? When we go out there and we inspect a property, it's all education. So when we walk a property, we look at everything. Oh, look, you have these shrubs. Oh, look, they have this insect issue. You have these trees. Oh, it looks like they have this issue. Oh, your pines over there, they look like they have dothostroma and maybe some diplodia tip light. You just start educating people, because when you start educating people and showing people what you actually know, you're immediately perceived as more professional. Their body changes. They kind of relax and they go, I got the right guy. And that's what you want, because then it becomes easier to sell them a service, right? And so thinking this, I wanted to start an academy called the Poison Ivy Academy. So that's what I've been building out ever since I got back from Mexico this year. The concept is to teach homeowners, landscapers, anybody how to identify poison ivy. And the real back end thought process behind this was because I read a statistic that 50 million people a year get a poison ivy rash. Can you even perceive 50 million people a year scratching like this and blisters? Just, that's way too many. And I think poison ivy at one point in time was probably more of a common thing that people knew about. But the further we've gone into technology and away from the outdoors, I think we've lost that sense of knowledge. And so it's time to rejuvenate that. No, we need to know this, because you don't need to go to the doctors. You don't need prescriptions. You just need to know what this looks like so you can avoid it. And so that was really the premise, to help people, to save people misery in life. Because 2 weeks or a month that you have a rash, it is horrible. I'm sure you've experienced it. I've experienced it. I know all of my clients, for the most part, have experienced it. It's not fun. It's not like you go out looking to get that. And so we wanted to create basically an academy, a digital course structure on how to educate people on it. I also wanted to create avenues for clients that maybe can't afford our services because of budgets or break-evens, that we can't necessarily do everything for free, right? And so I wanted to create resources for them so that way they can learn how to do things correctly if they can't afford us as our service. So it's an educational to teach people about this industry, because there's not really anyone that's doing it. And it's a wide open market for the most part. But again, I can't go to every person's property and teach them and service them. And I'll take it even a step further. This actually, it culminated in my brain. I was in Mexico for 8 weeks with my wife and son in December and January. We came back February 3rd. We drove in Mexico through these mountains, all the way from Guadalajara, Mexico to Puerto Vallarta. It was a 4.5 hour drive. And we're going through these mountains. It's beautiful. It's lush jungle. We're getting close to the beach. We're happy. All of a sudden, my window's down and I hear these tires. I'm going around this hairpin corner and this guy's flying through these corners. He came within 3 feet of hitting us. And he would have hit me. He wouldn't have hit my wife who was in the back. He would have hit directly into my door. And so it was a near-death experience where it was okay, it was just a realization. I can't service anyone. I don't have enough time in the world to service everyone. And so I need to help as many people as I can figure this out. How to not get a poison ivy rash, how to treat it if they need it, how to remove it safely if they need it. People need to know this. I can't just hold this all to my chest.
You're going to be the number one poison ivy guy in the world.
Right now on Google, Ditch the Itch is the number one poison ivy remediation company in the world, which is crazy to say because we've only been in business going on 4 years. So
you are the go-to. Your
right
name
now
is the number one name synonymous with the word poison ivy in the world. It's going to be all over the internet, dude. Crikey. So
I don't know if we have the best SEO. The company that I worked for before, they had the original company. And their company's name has poison ivy in the name. And so SEO wise, they dominate. But when you look us up locally, our reviews stand out. We're almost double the reviews that they have, and they've been in business 15 years. So there's a reason though, right? There's a reason that we're getting more reviews. And that's because we come at it with passion and education on the front end, because we care about the people, right? It's not about the money. It's about the people. We want you to be safe. We want you and your kids to be safe. We want you to know what you're looking at. Right? So here's the lookalikes. Here's what they look like. Here's what poison ivy looks like. Here's how to tell the difference. There's all these things that go into it. It's about others, right? Service is about others.
I love it.
I'm passionate about it. I love it, man.
I have customers that have it in their yard. And if there's quite a bit of it, we've gotten to the point, like I said, I'm I don't touch it because I don't know the right way to touch it without getting it all over everything. And if I could take your course or learn from you, on how to actually get rid of the poison ivy, educate the customer, and make money doing it, I would do that.
It's like a no-brainer, right?
Hmm?
There's literally gold sitting out there, and you have to be able to identify it in order to go get it. In a sea of green, where everything else is green around you, you have to pick out the one type of plant. It's like finding a needle in a stack of needles. It's very, very difficult. But when you learn the nuances and the tricks, it becomes very easy. When I walk through the woods, it's like a heat-seeking missile. It's all there. And you can just follow it and go. I'll tell you an experience. My coworker, my technician, we were on a property and I said, okay, here, you start out and you go. I've done this property before. There shouldn't be too much poison ivy here, but I want to see you go through this. This was difficult for me. He was going so slow, Keith. It's because he had to. In his brain, he had to scan so slow to ensure there wasn't any poison ivy there. And I clocked it. The amount of area that he walked when he was going through and treating for his first time, he took an hour, what would have taken me like 5 minutes. And while I'm walking behind him, I'm doing this math. And I'm looking around going, dude, this one property would take you like 8 hours. But it's because he didn't have the experience. And so that was another thing that like really triggered me. It's like, okay, I need to slow down and realize how to teach people this and teach it effectively. Because in order to scale your business, you have to have systems and you have to be able to teach people. And so how can I effectively teach people this in a digital fashion and then take them to the field and say, okay, now do what you just learned. It's a win-win for me. It's a win-win for the people that purchase it because they're going to be safe. They're going to learn. They're basically going to learn the exact same way that I would teach a technician, you know?
So to you, like poison ivy, it's almost like you see in black and white, but the poison ivy jumps out in like neon, like boom, there it is. You can see it where everybody else is like, what? It just blends in with everything else and they have to spend all this time to find it.
Yes.
Your sensory acuity to it, your reticular activating system, your subconscious, unconscious, and superconscious mind.
It sends vibrations my way and just says, I'm right here, Austin. And I just turn and it's like, yep, you're right there. I don't know. But yeah, it's just from years of doing, I think this is like 9 years I've been seeking out and destroying poison ivy. And so 9 years of doing something, that's a long time. You pick up on certain nuances.
You know, it's not just characteristics.
Exactly. But it's not just knowing what poison ivy looks like. It's what knowing everything else looks like, right? So what are the other plants in the woods? When you know what everything else is, you can say, I know what this is, I know what this is, I know what this is. This is suspicious. And you go over to me like, yep, poison ivy. So the more that you know around you,
dude, I just had that idea of like a cyborg commercial where you're wearing like the AI retina things and it's like Terminator, like, and it's typing up the names of all the plants, poison ivy alert, and then a ding, 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 and then it shows like but as you're walking like a Borg in the, you know what I'm talking?
That'd be good. That'd be good, man. I should talk to you or Quentin about actually putting that together. That'd be entertaining as hell.
Because of all the AI stuff.
People would love it though. Because when you see me, clients have actually walked around me and watched me. And in their face is like, you can see it that fast? You can do that fast? It's like, yeah. Because it's just natural. It's my element out there and la-di-da-di-da. It's second nature. It's wild when you go through it and you learn everything around poison ivy, the differences, how quickly you can start to pick it out. Just fires right off. Driving down the road at 75 miles an hour, you glance and you see a tree and go, yep, there's poison ivy on that tree. And it just goes right by. It's a curse almost, too. I'm not going to lie, because now everywhere I go, I'm looking for poison ivy. I've like trained myself so much that it's ingrained and I can't stop. But it provides for my family, so I really do enjoy what I'm doing.
I'm smiling. For those of you who are not watching this, if you want to watch the video version, the Untrapped Podcast YouTube channel, you can see the video. Otherwise, you're just listening. But I'm smiling because I think of funny stuff, man. I just imagine you like as part of your marketing gimmick, you're like in a cape and that cape is white, but it has a huge leaf on it. That's like a poison ivy leaf with the red circle. But you're smoking a cigar, like, listen here. like so good at it that you're almost cocky and the customer's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's surprisingly my logo, people, they mistake it for another type of leaf and they say, why do you got that on your shirt? And it's like, no, different leaf.
Looks nothing like it.
I know. I keep telling them that. It's like, you don't know plants.
Hey, Alexa, play the Untrapped Podcast. Did I just trigger?
Podcast within the Untrapped Podcast?
To stop. I told it to stop.
I'll say, so what's new on your end with your business? What are you up to right now? Getting ready for the season? Staying safe in this ice storm that we're having right now?
Yeah, we were just out. We had to go to Lowe's to buy some stuff because we're finishing up the remodeling of the basement. And I almost slipped 3 times. It's a sheet of ice everywhere in Michigan, so I'm not going to be driving. Just been doing a very deep dive on my education. I've been reading a lot. I'm reading 4 books in the last week, cover to cover type shit. I invested in a Kindle so I can read at night, so I don't have to have the light on. First thing I wake up in the morning, I read, diving deep in online courses and taking notes. I've got my finances dialed in, getting systems together. I'm building hope this doesn't mess up the internet. I have an operating manual. I was posting about it. And by the time it's done, it'll have all the systems and everything in the business, the marketing.
Those are invaluable. Those are necessary.
Yeah, totally. So just having bigger breakthroughs that I've always wanted to have my entire life are finally happening. And I could talk about it for 12 hours, man. Some things are beautiful gifts that when they come to you in the form of epiphanies or realizations or wisdom, I've learned to not pick up the phone and babble about it. I used to constantly have to make a video about something, and I'm a lot more quiet these days. And I just will meditate in that and say, this one's for me. This one's for me. And I've gotten a lot of joy out of sticking to my guns and drawing my line in the sand and going the direction Keith wants to go. Because I've made a lot of videos on YouTube, and I've spent the last 9 years or something making 2 to 3 videos a week. And we have 6 YouTube channels. Yeah, I could just talk about it for hours, man. I'm doing better than I've ever done in my life, man. Thank you.
Good.
Stick around as Keith returns with more of the Untrapped podcast in just a moment. Hey, if you're looking for what is probably the greatest software ever to run your business on, go to getjobber.com/Keith. You can create proposals, invoices, collect payments, even track your entire business directly on the Jobber smartphone app. And if you want to get a totally free trial of Jobber right now, open your browser, type in getjobber.com/Keith. And if after the trial you decide you want to sign up with Keith's link, you'll automatically get 20% off your first 6 months. So what are you waiting for? Go to getjobber.com/Keith. The Untrapped podcast continues.
That's excellent to hear. We're going to crush it in 2023, right?
It's back to having fun now. There's this 5-year period in business where their business isn't growing and they start freaking out and then hating and then wanting to get out and thinking that the answer is in a different industry, or it could be year 3, it could be year 7, just different people. I think once you get through all that shit and you grow your business a little bit and you get through the really hard times and you meet the wizards behind the curtain, or you go to live events, you meet mentors, you get coaching, people that help you get through and get to the next step and get some money in the bank and hire some more employees, whatever the hell is for you that makes you happy. You can get back to having fun in your business and reignite the passion of why you actually started in the first place. So there's these ebbs and flows. You just know what to expect because you've been through it enough.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this, my new baby, the Poison Ivy Academy, that's kind of reignited me, because having done the same thing for 9 years, go out there treating poison ivy, I was almost bored with it. It's like, okay, I've done this so much. I need new challenges. That's another reason why I became a certified arborist. And that's the reason why I started the Poison Ivy Academy. Because now I want to teach people, right? I want to teach people what I know so it can benefit them in the future. And so as far as that goes, special offer for all you guys that are listening. Right now, we are building out an advanced poison ivy identification course. And we're going to go into some really in-depth details. We're going to take some really in-depth videos. We're going to show root structures, the difference in root structures between lookalike plants, the difference in actual above-ground structures of lookalike plants. We're going to teach you the nuances that come along with this. And so if you're doing landscape work early spring and there's no leaves and it's extremely difficult to identify, well, how do you identify poison ivy? How do you know if you're exposed? How do you know if you can deal with it? You need to know what it looks like when there's no leaves. And then we got to teach you what it looks like with leaves. And then we got to teach you what it looks like when it's going into autumn and it's changing color. So what I'm going to do is basically create a course that we together build out throughout this year. And my only request is that you provide feedback, because we haven't built it yet. We're going to build it together, because I might know something that I think you need to know, what I think you might struggle with, but I really don't know what you're struggling with. Only you do. So it's like, hey, can we focus on this a little bit more? Because I didn't really get all of that. Can you make some more videos on that? Yes. And then the next week, boom, there's going to be a video on that specifically for that issue. And I was pretty much thinking about how to do this. Because like I said, I could create this and have my own perception and ideas of how to teach you about poison ivy. But I'm so close to it, and it's so easy for me that I don't remember this stuff 8 years ago when I first got into this that I was struggling with. And so I'm going to ask you to help me build this. We're going to give you an awesome discount. It's going to be $100 off the course. And I look forward to building it with you, serving you. I'm excited. Like I said, this rejuvenated me in my business because now I'm going to be able to teach people beyond face-to-face and actually move to where, okay, here, watch this screen, learn this. Now go outside and practice what you learned and come back and verify it. So it's super exciting. I'm thrilled. I don't know that I'm at the point where it's like, I don't like my business, but I was just so bored with the actual work. I've done this so often. It's just, okay, let's go kill poison ivy again. I still love it, but it's just, there wasn't fun in it. Now it's fun again, just to create something new.
I like it.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah. So you've been reading. I'll show you what I've been reading. This is the Tree Risk Assessment Manual. I'm excited. This is a whole certificate or qualification process to get this.
Tree Risk Assessment Qualified?
Track. Yes. Tree Risk Assessment Qualified. I want to be able to go to somebody's house and be like, that tree is risky and I'm going to rate it for you for XYZ amount. And that way you can deal with the liabilities on what you need to do. Because I've gone to properties where we're walking, doing poison ivy treatments, and there's limbs hanging over with a crack right here. And it's like, you need to get that out of here or it's going to fall on your house tomorrow or in a week or in a month. And they don't look up because they're engineers or they're doing something, right? They're not looking at their trees. They just trust that they're there and healthy. And so I pointed that out to people, but now I actually want to go through the process on how to rate a tree, how to rate it for risk, all these things that it's, I'll tell you what, if you ever want to go down the road of becoming a certified arborist, there's so many additional roads that you can go down as far as specialties. Like I met somebody the other day, they specialized in plant appraisal. They would go out and they would appraise trees for court cases. And they spend their days in court saying, yep, these trees are worth this and here's why. And XYZ should probably pay for it. They don't say that, but the lawyers, they're doing it. But that's what they do. They're specialists for court cases. They're wild. Like that's a profession. You just go out there and you rate trees and put a price tag on them and go, yep, here's the report. And they're getting paid like $200 an hour to do this stuff.
Yep. It's a totally different game.
It is.
Same trees.
So, yeah, same trees, right? Landscapers plant them, they grow up, and eventually Johnny in his truck runs into them and knocks them over or breaks them. Now he's going to pay for them. And so somebody has to put a number on that. What's it worth after 10 years? But, as far as landscape, as far as you guys, you can take your education to totally new levels if you want. Become certified arborist. A certified arborist is not just a guy that climbs a tree and cuts a tree, like what I thought years ago. There's so many avenues to this. When you're installing a tree, you're doing work of an arborist. You're doing installation of trees. And so if I can extend that to you and encourage you to go do it, like when I saw Daniel on your YouTube channel years ago, I'm going to do it because it's going to open up your mind to all this education that you can go do, right? I'm hounding education because I'm just so hungry for more knowledge. And whether it's in a book or whether it's a video,
where can people go if they want to learn about being a certified arborist?
You can go to isa-arbor, I think it's .org. That's the ISA's official website. And so you can go there if you're in Michigan, or you can always look up your local ISA chapters. So here in Michigan, it's isamichigan.org. And so you can learn everything you need. They put on events. They had a conference last week called ArborCon, and there was 400 plus people there to learn about trees, to go to seminars, to learn about specific things about trees. It was awesome.
ArborCon. I love
ArborCon, yeah.
See, man, you're living proof. And if more about Daniel Miraval, you said his names. If you guys don't know, go to my YouTube channel, Keith Kelfas, and then go to playlists and look up videos with Daniel Miraval. And you can see all these amazing videos where he's talking about trees. And I've done probably 10 videos with this guy, and they're fascinating videos. You will learn a lot. Trust me, it will catapult you down this path that Austin here is talking about. And then learn more about your program you're putting together. It's in two different places, keithkelfas.com/resources, what I normally say, but it's on Landscaper Resource LANSCAPERRESOURCE, landscaperresource.com. Scroll down, you'll see Ditch the Itch, the big and green poison ivy leaf with the red no smoking sign over it. And then you'll learn more about the course and you can sign up. And what he means by helping him create it is obviously the more questions you guys ask, for those of you that are interested in register for it, he will actually make the content.
We basically need a big enough sample size to give us tangible data to say, what are you struggling with? You know, right now we're dealing with an ice storm, so it's not like I'm running out there to go record poison ivy content. But the moment that the weather starts to shift, when landscapers are going to be out there working, it's when it becomes relevant. And so one of the first videos that I really want to do is I want to go take my air spade and my air compressor outside and actually air spade an area of nothing but poison ivy roots and vines, just so you can see what it looks like underground. Because you might see this little stem and that's all you see. But when you look underground and you actually expose it, it could be this giant carpet underground of roots and rhizomes that'll trigger and pop up throughout the year.
Really?
And so you need to, you need to know what it looks like, and you need to know the colors of the roots, the structure of the roots, so that way you can be safe early in the season. And then as the season progresses, we're going to make videos once a week or every other week. And we're going to put content out there and say, was this valuable? Did you learn something? What do we need to focus on?
I love it.
Because again, I don't know what you need until you say, hey, we need more of this. So also in that offer, you're going to see that Keith gives you the $100 off. So when you go to the checkout, just use $100 off and become a founder of this program. Basically next year, once we've created it, it's going to go up to $147. Right now, you guys can get it for $47 and save yourself a bunch of money and have lifetime access to it. Anytime we update it, it's going to be there. You're going to have access to it. And then share it with your friends, teach your family, teach your kid, teach your grandkid. So that way we don't have 50 million people going to the emergency room or going to the doctors with poison ivy rashes, right? That's the whole concept behind this, is to teach people to keep them safe. So that's the goal. And I hope that you'll join me on that journey.
I love it. Check it out. Go to landscaperresource.com. You'll see it there. How can people find you on social media?
On Instagram, you can search Ditch The Itch, MI. There's a lot of underscores in there because that's before I understood SEO, but basically if you search Ditch The Itch MI, I'll pop up, or Ditch The Itch LLC. I'm also on Facebook under Ditch The Itch Poison Ivy and Mosquito Control Services. You can find me there. Pretty active on Instagram, so more than likely that's where you'll find a lot of my content.
Bro, it was so great having you on the Untrapped podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Second time. Yeah, man, it was awesome. And hey, I'll see you guys in the next show.
Take care. God bless.